Welcome to the Shreveport Connection with Tommy. And this video is going to be about Monday Night Raw, partial superstars, and some WWE news. And here we go with the news. WWE announced on Sunday night that John Laurenitus was fired as Vice President to Talent Relations. And they are now billing Paul Levesque, aka Triple H, as the Executive Vice President of Talent Relations and live events. John Laurenitus was previously listed as the Executive Vice President of Talent Relations on the corporate website. You can view the new listing as corporate.wwe.com. Okay, Triple H took over Talent Relations some time ago, and Laurenitus has been reporting to him since then. This change has been reflected on the corporate site, so it is not storyline related at all. Thanks to all the readers and viewers passing along notes regarding the change. WWE Diva Eve has addressed her recent absence from WWE TV, playing up her storyline role as an executive to John Laurinaitis' cabinet. I know you all miss me on Raw, she was quoted by saying, but rest assured, I'm handling some very important business. That's what business women do, unquote. As she tweeted on Monday night during Raw, R-Truth was injured over the weekend in a tour of Spain and was removed from other live events as well. And Brodus Clay has been replaced as a tag team champion, as he was tagging with Kofi Kingston in several matches, and they retained the titles. One match was in a street fight. Also, Del Rio was removed from action due to a concussion, and also removed from No Way Out pay-per-view. WWE has announced via Twitter that Alberto Del Rio would not wrestle at No Way Out pay-per-view as previously advertised. He is out with a concussion suffered at the SmackDown tapings last week. Del Rio's replacement in the World Heavyweight Championship match at No Way Out will be determined on Raw, which we will find out later. Del Rio missed the weekend house shows because of the concussion, and there's no official time for his return. And which you've all been waiting for, thanks to WrestlingInc.com, #1 Raider Nation fan, for sending in these results from the Raw taping in Hartford, Connecticut. Dark match: Alex Riley defeated Drew McIntyre. Superstars taping: 2 matches. Zack Ryder defeated Michael McGillicuddy with the Rough Rider. The Primetime Players defeated the Usos. If you're not familiar with the Primetime Players, I believe that's Kurt Hawkins and Tyler Rex. Okay, and the Raw Super Show starts off with the normal opening video, and we're live from the XL Center in Hartford, Connecticut. As the pyro goes off the air with the 3-hour Raw, and Michael Cole welcomes us to Raw. Justin Roberts introduces John Laurinaitis, and out he comes to the ring. Laurinaitis goes to introduce himself to everyone when no chants music hits, and out comes Vince McMahon to a big pop from the crowd. Vince won't shake his hand because he doesn't know where it's been. Vince wants to get right to the job evaluation. Vince asks why he shouldn't fire Laurinaitis right now. Laurinaitis says 2 words: people power. He fumbles his words and says he listens to the people, he empowers them, and they love him for it. Vince asks the fans if they love Laurinaitis, sucking up to Vince. A "Fire Johnny" chant breaks out in the crowd. Laurinaitis says he and Vince will have a lot in common. Laurinaitis says they're both astute businessmen. Then Vince brings up Brock Lesnar's situation, and Laurinaitis blames it on Triple H. Vince brings up re-signing Big Show to a big contract with a bonus. Vince says Show hasn't performed well since 1999 and calls him a horrible investment for WWE. Laurenitus says, "This is the new Big Show." It goes on, and Vince insults him. The music of Sheamus hits, and out comes the World Heavyweight Champion. Sheamus says he felt it. It was his duty to come out here. Sheamus says Laurenitus was right. He's a friend. He's such a good friend that he will fire you $500,000, fine you $500,000, and hold a personal vendetta because you bumped into him. Vince says, "Fire Johnny" is now trending worldwide on Twitter. The crowd pops for Vince, and Sheamus calls Laurenitus the worst general manager in WWE history. Sheamus asks Vince to kick Laurenitus on his ass. Laurenitus says Sheamus doesn't respect the locker room. Laurenitus is going to the back to find an opponent that will make Sheamus sorry. He storms off, and Vince stops him. Vince says it better be a good opponent. Vince says every match tonight better be impressive. If not, then at the end of the night, Laurenitus will hear these famous words, "You're fired." Laurenitus leaves the ring as No Chance music plays again. Vince takes a seat on Ace's scooter and rides it up the ramp. As the crowd pops and Sheamus looks on, Vince rides the scooter to the top of the stage and runs it off the stage. Vince strolls off to the back as we get to the first commercial. And the first matchup is Sheamus versus Tensai. Back from the break, Sheamus waits for his opponent. Cole Saul mentions Alberto Del Rio's concussion. They're blaming it on the overhead shots from the Great Khali's big karate chop. Finish. And John Laurinaitis comes out and says the opponent for Sheamus is not in a good mood. Tensai's music hits, and out he comes with Sakamoto. Bell rings and they lock up, tangle around, and go to the corner before locking up again. Tensai drops Sheamus with a big shoulder. They lock up again, and Sheamus applies a headlock. They collide with shoulders. Tensai smacks Sheamus. Sheamus unloads with right hands and backs Tensai into the corner. Tensai runs into a big boot, and Sheamus takes out Tensai's leg. Sheamus with knees and elbows to the head now. Tensai turns it back around and beats Sheamus down in the corner. Tensai drops Sheamus again with an elbow to the mouth. Sheamus tries for another comeback and clotheslines Tensai over the top rope, but Sheamus also falls out with him as they go to the second commercial. Back from the break, and they're trading big shots in the corner. Sheamus goes down after a knee to the head. Tensai whips Sheamus hard into the corner, and he goes down again. Tensai with a big splash to the back. Tensai climbs up to the second rope, and comes down with a big splash. But Sheamus kicked out at 2. We'll see that Sheamus is busted open now. Sheamus comes back with a headbutt and both right hands. Sheamus with a spear in the corner and a big knee lift. Sheamus takes out Tensai with a forearm and a 2 count. Tensai fought back with elbows to the head. Sheamus got dumped out to the apron, but fights his way back. Sheamus with a series of big forearms to the chest. Sheamus comes off the top rope, but Tensai catches him and powerbombs him for a close 2 count. Tensai with headbutts to the face. More back and forth action. Tensai turns around to a big bro kick for Sheamus for the win. Meanwhile, backstage with Vince McMahon and Teddy Long and Laurenitis. Vince says that that's strike 1 against Ace for tonight. Vince asks who's going to face Sheamus for the world title. Vicky Guerrero walks in and suggests Dolph Ziggler and Jack Swagger for a 3-way against Sheamus. Laurinaitis says he has a better idea, but wants to know what Teddy thinks. Teddy brings up Ziggler, Swagger, the Great Khali, and Christian. He suggests a fatal 4-way elimination match with the winner facing Sheamus at No Way Out. Vince likes that idea. Ace sends Teddy off to get some coffee. Ace offers Vince a fist bump. Vince says he has small hands and walks away as we go back to commercial. For your third commercial, well, back from the third commercial, and Tensai's in the ring yelling at Sakamoto. He smacks him around and beats him to the mat, yelling something in Japanese. Tensai throws Sakamoto over the top rope and goes out after him. Tensai slams his face into the announcer table and then continues to beat him up around the ring. Referees finally come out and get Tensai to the back. So, after Sakamoto was a FCW wrestler himself, and so they may be splitting them up, and he actually is getting his wrestling debut coming soon. Okay, on with the rest of it. Coleslaw and Lawler hype the 1,000th Raw in just 6 weeks. We go to a video with stars looking back at their favorite Raw moments. One half of the WWE Tag Team Champions, R-Truth, is backstage with Matt Striker. Striker asks how he is after Big Show attacked him 2 weeks ago. Truth talks about how little Jimmy was traumatized. Truth talks to Jimmy and gets back to the interview. Truth says Show is going to lose to John Cena this Sunday in the steel cage match. Out of nowhere, Big Show's fist appears and lays out Truth, and they show Big Show before going back to commercial. Later on in the show, they did a highlight. Well, Big Show wasn't even seen. You just seen a big fist, and that was the end of that segment. So, way to go with WWE with already removing them from house show and live events, and then placing them on Raw only to get knocked out by Big Show backstage. So, alright, back from the fourth commercial break, and we see what just happened to R-Truth again at the hands of Big Show. Santana Marella and Layla versus Beth Phoenix and Ricardo Rodriguez was up next. What's this? A mixed tag. Okay, what we get next is, we go to the ring, and out comes the United States Champion Santana Marella. His partner, Divas Champion Layla, is out next, and out next comes Beth Phoenix with her partner, Railroad Rodriguez, double R. Beth practically pulled Ricardo to the ring as he's hesitant. Beth and Layla start things out. Beth runs her mouth and they lock up. Layla with a headlock. Ricardo reaches for a tag, but Layla kicks him. He comes in but gets kicked in the head. Beth takes Layla down and stomps away for a 2 count. Ricardo tags himself in, and Beth hits a slingshot suplex. Santino comes in, and Ricardo runs to Beth and grabs her waist. Beth tells him to get out of the ring and stay out. Layla comes back on Beth. Layla springboards into a crossbody, more back and forth action. Double R gets involved, but Layla throws him out to the floor. Santino pulls out the Cobra on the floor, but Ricardo runs into the ring post. Beth and Layla go at it in the ring. Beth kicks the injured knee and hits the glam slam for the win. And we've got a rainstorm outside. All of a sudden, I hear wind hitting the window. And back to the action. After the match, Ricardo brags in the ring about the win. Santino comes in and rips off his shirt, revealing a tight Justin Bieber t-shirt underneath, and he acts like he's been diaperized because he holds his crotch area. Santino tends to Layla to end that segment. David Otunga backstage with Vince McMahon. Otunga asks if Laurenitus does get fired, who should be the replacement. Vince doesn't like the way Otunga punkers up and doesn't like lawyers at all. Kofi Kingston runs in and is looking for Laurenitus. Kofi wants Big Show because he took Truth out. Laurenitus walks in and says Truth isn't doing good. Laurenitus makes Kofi versus show. Inside a steel cage for tonight. Kofi walks off, and Vince says that's not a bad idea. And we see Daniel Bryan walking backstage as we go back to the 5th commercial. Back for the break, and out comes Daniel Bryan. He says he's nothing like CM Punk or Kane. He says they both have a weakness in the form of AJ Lee. Bryan says Punk is jealous of him, trying to make him jealous by getting with his ex-girlfriend. Bryan says Kane thinks he's getting to second base with a woman when she looks him in the eye and doesn't vomit. Bryan says AJ is still in love with him. Bryan then says he's only interested in the WWE title and will get it this Sunday. Bryan starts chanting Borgasms when Punk's music hits, and out he comes to the stage. Punk walks to the ring. AJ is pretty cool. Punk walks to the ring and says that AJ is pretty cool. He then says she is way out of Bryan's league and inside the ring. Bryan isn't even close to being in Punk's league. Punk says AJ is crazy, but he digs crazy chicks, which was trending worldwide on Twitter. Punk says regardless of who he has to beat, he's walking out WWE champion on Sunday. Bryan says he used to respect Punk, but he has changed. Bryan says Punk is the biggest sellout in WWE. Punk says he spoke his mind last summer, but he has not changed one bit. Punk says he's achieved success on his own terms, but can't say the same thing for Bryan. Punk runs down Bryan and calls him names, for instance, the final word was moron. Since it's PG, he couldn't say anything else. Punk goes on until Kane's music hits, and out he comes with his pyro. But when he gets to the ring, he doesn't do his normal bang signal. Kane comes out and talks about some of the crazy things he's done over the years. Kane says his pipe bombs are actual pipe bombs, and that's why he will leave at No Way Out with a WWE title. AJ comes down in a CM Punk t-shirt and wants them to stop arguing. AJ says she looked into Kane's eyes last week and she saw that he actually had a heart. AJ admits that she hasn't gotten over Bryan, her first true love. She looks at Punk and smiles now. She says he is the coolest guy that she's ever known in her entire life. AJ then says that she knows the best man will win on Sunday. Laurenitus appears on the big screen and says we're going to have a first tonight. He announces Bryan and Kane tag team versus Punk and AJ for tonight. AJ looks worried as he talks it over with Punk. Then we get highlights from earlier in the evening when Vince McMahon threatened to fire John Laurinaitis if he isn't impressed with tonight's matches. Up next is number one contenders match. Back to commercial. Fatal 4-way elimination match. Christian versus Khali versus Dolph versus Swagger. The winner of this one will face World Heavyweight Champion Sheamus at No Way Out. Out first comes the Intercontinental Champion, Christian. Great Khali was out second. Vicky Guerrero hits the stage to her, excuse me, crap, to introduce Dolph Ziggler and Jack Swagger. The match starts and Khali strikes everyone first. Khali gets the shots in on everyone and hits Swagger with a big chop in the corner. Khali with a big chop and a headbutt on Ziggler. Khali beats up Swagger and Ziggler in the corner. Another big chop for Swagger. Okay, so where's Christian? Well, I guess he got thrown outside the ring. Ziggler tries to stop him, but Khali grabs him. They finally take his knee out, and Khali goes down. Christian appears and goes up to the top for a frog splash, and all three men pin Khali, and Khali is eliminated as they go to another commercial. Back from the break, and Christian is trying to fight off both men. Ziggler and Swagger come back with a double team. Swagger for a 2 count on Christian. Vicky comes over and slaps Christian while the ref isn't looking. Double team continues on Ziggler as he gets dumped out to the floor. Christian fights off Swagger, back and forth action until Christian hits the back elbow from the corner. Ziggler comes in and rolls Christian up for a close 2. Christian responds with a right hand. He throws them both in the corner and hits a kill switch on Swagger. Swagger blocked it. Christian goes down in the corner. Swagger misses a Swagger bomb. Christian rolls Swagger up for a close 2 count. Swagger applies the ankle lock, but Christian countered. And the leg pulling him over. And Christian finally hit the kill switch, but Ziggler runs in and steals the pin on Swagger. So Swagger is eliminated. Christian rolls up Ziggler for a close 2. They trade shots, and Christian slams Ziggler for another pin attempt. Ziggler comes back with a drop kick and a close 2. Ziggler stomps away and works on the injured ankle of Christian, which is normally the left leg, but it was not, as Christian was selling the left leg injury or being hurt. Well, Swagger was working on the right leg instead. Okay. So that was a botch if you watched the show. Didn't catch it. Well, that was the big thing. And there was a move next that happened. And Christian went back to the right leg injury as being put into the ankle lock. Okay. Christian fought back, but applied Ziggler in a sleeper hold. Christian rolls out of it and drops Ziggler again. Christian tries for a spear, but his leg gives him problems. Christian catapults Ziggler in the monkey flips Ziggler and then hits the spear for another 2. Christian readies for the kill switch, but Ziggler kicks his ankle and hits the big leg drop for a 2. Christian hits the inverted DDT for another close fall. Christian climbs to the top, but Dolph runs up. Christian knocks him back to the mat. Christian comes down, but Ziggler moves. Ziggler hits a zigzag for the win, and the number 1 contendership to face Sheamus at No Way Out. And Dolph celebrates going up the ring by himself. As Vicky was still in the ring. Oh, she didn't even notice that he was gone. Okay, walks up the ramp. And Ziggler backs up the ramp and he's yelling, "It's about damn time!" He turns around as he's still backing up to the stage as Sheamus has got his title belt. We're just waiting for him. All the way up the ramp, and Dolph turns around. It's like, okay. No reaction to Sheamus at all on the stage, so that was another kind of like botch. He knew he was there. And they have a few words as Sheamus raises the world title in Dolph's face. And nothing else was said about that. He just said, "I'm the champion, you're the number 1 contender." Okay, Natalia's backstage with Vince McMahon. Natalia is also talking about how the match with Bret Hart had with Vince at WrestleMania was important to the Harts. She wants to do the whole Harts family thing again. Vince promises to talk about it more with her later. Vince walks off and is stalked by Cameron and Naomi dancing. Yeah, they're doing the Fuckasaurus dance. They want Vince to undo Ace's ban on Brodus Clay from being on Raw. He won't, but they heard Vince can get funky. So Vince starts doing a dance, and I kind of expected the gals to just leave him. And that's what exactly happens. Then Vince says, finally, "Somebody call my mama." Music hits, and they start dancing with the Funkettes. They end it, and Vince turns around to Zack Ryder standing there shocked. And Vince says, "Woo, woo, woo, you know it," and walks off. And everybody that was expecting it, "Are you?" It's like, everybody was expecting him to say his famous words. Are you serious, bro? Well, it never happened. And they have the Still to Come show versus Kofi Kingston, a steel cage match, plus AJ versus AJ and CM Punk versus Kane and Daniel Bryan. Little words on the screen as they go back to the another commercial. Well, back from the commercial, and it's Ryback versus two jobbers. Well, one of them named Willard Fillmore, and the other one Rutherford P.S. Hayes. Wonder if that's any hint to Michael P.S. Hayes. There wasn't nothing P.S. about him. But purely stupid. Well, that's my guess. Back from the break, and out comes Ryback. Willard Fillmore and Rutherford Purely Stupid Hayes comes out down the ramp, running their mouths. Bell rings, and one of them charges. Ryback just slams him and powerbombs him like 3 times. The other guy just looks scared and just exits the ring. Well, Ryback goes around the ring, he knows where the guy is going to run. So Ryback goes outside the ring, starts at the rampway and runs over and with a big lariat clothesline. And Ryback then picks the guy up, throws him over the top rope from the floor and back into the ring. The crowd chants Goldberg for a few moments as Ryback hits the double Samoan drop after picking up both guys for the win. Then we see the steel cage being lowered over the ring for the next match. Show versus Kingston is up next as we go to commercial. Back from commercial, and they're showing Vince McMahon backstage with Hornswoggle. Vince does an impersonation of JR. And so does Hornswoggle. He's wearing the black hat. And the black hat is Hornswoggle size. You think it's small, but guess what? It's actually huge. When Vince put it on, it was like covering his eyes. So, well, and just as that was going on, John Cena comes in to a very mixed reaction from the crowd. They go back and forth, and Cena wants Vince to use those words tonight when it comes to laryngitis. Otunga walks in and tries to change Vince's mind about the lawyers. Vince doesn't like Otunga sucking up. Vince says nobody respects a man who will kiss another man's butt. Then Vince looks over and William Regal is there looking around. It's like, what? What did I do? That was his look. Still a cage match was up next. I believe they actually said a few more words. It's like Vince was telling John Cena not to interfere in this match. He doesn't want any interference from John Cena. Just stay in the back. And that match was up next. We go to the cage. We go to the cage. Out first comes one half of the WWE Tag Team Champions, Kofi Kingston. Okay. Then we see Big Show walking backstage as they go to another commercial break. Back from the break, and David Otunga versus Brodus Clay is announced for a No Way Out pre-show match on YouTube. Big Show makes his way out to the cage, and next as Kofi waits. Big Show enters the ring, and Kofi starts beating up on him immediately. Show knocks him off, and here we go. Show throws Kofi into the side of the steel cage wall. Show takes control and beats Kofi around the ring. Show presses Kofi's face into the steel cage. Show throws him face first into the cage again. Show keeps the assault and keeps ramming Kofi inside the steel cage. Kofi tries to fight back, but Show cuts him off with big kicks. Show runs his mouth and turns around and gets boots from Kofi. Kofi tries to make a comeback, but Show stops him. Kofi leaps onto the cage and tries to escape, and somehow knocks Show down with the Trouble in Paradise, but he can't get a pin. Kofi tries to crawl out of the cage through the cage door, but Show pulls him back in several times. Kofi kicks him back and goes for the door again. Show then pulls him back again. Show grabs the kick this time and levels Kofi with a knockout punch. Referee checks on Kofi and calls for the bell, and Show walks out the cage door. He takes his time before stepping on the floor. It's like he teases stepping out, and does the one, and then finally does the second step, winning the match. The referee, they didn't ring the bell once the referee was ringing for it, because they said Kofi was incoherent and could not continue. So another messed up match. Let's see. Well, Big Show heads straight up the ramp as Kofi is still laid out in the cage, and they go back to another commercial. Back from the break, and it's Sin Cara versus Kurt Hawkins next. Back from the break, Hawkins is already in the ring. Sin Cara comes out next. The bell rings, and they lock up. They trade arm holds, and Hawkins slaps Cara in the back of the head. Sin Cara takes Hawkins down and sends him out of the ring. Sin Cara corkscrews over the top and takes Hawkins out on the floor. Hawkins turns it back around in the ring and works over Cara. So Cara comes back with a big super kick to the face and a springboard back elbow. Cara with a pair of drop kicks and a big arm drag. Cara with a stomp to the head and a kick and another big arm drag. Cara plants Hawkins with his finisher for the win. Still to come. Beep. Vince McMahon's decision about the future of John Laurinaitis. Back to commercial we go. Back from the break, and we get hyped for No Way Out. Daniel Bryan is backstage warming up when Vince McMahon walks in and wishes him good luck. Bryan is surprised because he didn't think Vince would like someone like him. Vince says if Bryan was walking down the street with groceries, he wouldn't be mistaken for a WWE superstar. Bryan cuts Vince off and says he's been fired before and he proved Vince wrong. Vince goes on and leaves Bryan to think. We see a locker room for a mystery man from Raw's past that has been brought by John Laurinaitis in the honor of upcoming 1000th episode. Back to commercial. And there was a report earlier during the week that Vader was in town as he was at the airport on Sunday. So that was the mystery man. And back for the break, and they hyped the 1000th Raw for July 23rd again. And it's Heath Slater versus the mystery man Vader. Justin Roberts is in the ring and says the following match was arranged by John Laurinaitis in honor of the upcoming 1000th Raw. Slater takes a mic and doesn't want to talk about the former superstars. Slater says, it's time, it's Slater time. He's interrupted by Vader's music. Vader returns to a big pop from the crowd. Bell rings and the crowd chants Vader's name, and they lock up and Vader shoves Slater back. And Vader does not, he's wearing his normal mask, but he's like clean shaven head because he normally has the little kind of like Road Warrior split in the hair, like through there. Well, he doesn't have it. Okay, well anyway, back to the match, and Vader gets the crowd hyped again, and they chant his name some more. Vader takes Slater to the corner and unloads. Slater comes back with a cheap shot and hits right hand. Slater runs the ropes, and Vader runs over him with a clothesline. Vader with another clothesline. Vader continues beating Slater down. Crowd chants, "You still got it," to Vader as he continues the assault. Vader with a big suplex for another 2 count. Slater tries to fight back again, but can't get Vader down. Big size difference. Obvious. Slater scoops him up, but Vader falls on top of him for a 2 count. More like a cross body. And the crowd chants for Vader's bomb now. Vader slams Slater in the corner and climbs to the second rope for the big Vader bomb. Vader covers for the win. Then we get the big Be a Star video. And then a segment with AJ Lee backstage freaking out about the main event. CM Punk walks up and tries to calm her down. He tells her to stay on the apron and don't do anything crazy. She will be fine. AJ kisses Punk on the cheek and walks off as we go to commercial. Kane and Daniel Bryan versus CM Punk and AJ Lee was up next. We go to ring. Out comes Kane first for the next match. His partner Daniel Bryan is out next. WWE Champion CM Punk makes his way out last with his partner AJ. Punk starts things off with Kane, and there we go. Kane and Punk with back and forth action to start. Kane drops Punk with a back elbow and tags in Bryan. Bryan with a series of kicks before trying a pin. Bryan with a submission now. Punk comes back with a drop kick and a neck breaker. Punk with a high knee in the corner and a bulldog attempt. Punk with a power slam for a 2. Punk climbs to the top but misses the big elbow as he actually landed on his feet first before it was like his elbow was still there before, when his feet hit. Yeah, so that was a little botched move from Punk. Okay, well, during that big elbow drop, landed on his feet, Bryan moved out of the way. Kane tagged in again. Punk goes at it with Kane, and somehow AJ is tagged in as Punk gets dumped out to the outside. AJ comes in to Kane in the middle of the ring. She smiles at him, does his little thing. Then she starts skipping around him in a circle. Then AJ jumps onto Kane and wraps her legs around him. She gives him a big kiss, and he has no reaction to it. It's like, well, of course he's married, so his wife is not going to be mad at him because he does no reaction to it. Okay. Okay, let's see, where was us at again? Alright. AJ, okay, got that. And she gave him a big kiss. Kane stops and stares at her. He tags in Bryan as he's backing off. To Bryan tags him in. And Kane is leaving the ring and also going up the rampway. Heading to the back slowly. Well, Bryan charges Punk and gets knocked back. Punk climbs to the top and connects with the top rope elbow for the win. Since AJ just backed up in the corner and tagged in Punk. Alright, so AJ and CM Punk won the match. We see Kane looking back from the stage as AJ smiles as Punk looks a little confused as AJ sits down in the ring and smiles Indian style. Does a little thing. Up next is Vince McMahon's decision on John Laurenitus. And they go back to commercial, back from the break, and out comes Vince McMahon with a team of security guys behind him. I kind of predicted these guys have had previous wrestling experience because they brawl in the match, which is actually it turns out into a match of some sort, which you'll see in the melee what happens. Okay. as the security comes down, it's like 6 guys coming down, 5 or 6 guys. I'm not particularly sure of exactly how many. I wasn't paying attention myself. Well, Vince talks about his love for the city of Hartford and the state of Connecticut. Vince calls out Laurenitus to the ring, and out he comes with his crutch. Of course, no scooter, because the scooter was taken out by Vince McMahon off the stage. Laurenitus says he doesn't appreciate what happened to a scooter earlier. He says Vince doesn't need security because he would never think about hitting Vince. Vince says the security isn't for him, it's for Laurenitus. Laurenitus tells Vince not to make a decision he will regret. Laurenitus says that he has improved WWE since coming on. Laurenitus tells Vince to let him stay and run People Power. Vince goes to fire Laurenitus, but Big Show's music hits and out he comes. Show comes out defending Laurenitus and talks about his ironclad contract. Show says he's done everything Vince wanted him to do over the years. Show said he no longer has to be an entertainer. Vince wanted him to be. He can now be the giant he's supposed to be. Show says Vince should be worried about what's going to happen to John Cena in No Way Out. Well, at that point, Cena's music interrupts and out he comes. Cena cuts a promo on Laurenitus. Show and No Way Out. He says if Show doesn't pummel him at No Way Out, then he's out of excuses. Cena says Show has to win, or that's it for him. Vince says he's going to be sitting at ringside on Sunday with Laurenitus to prevent him from interfering in the match. Vince says if Big Show is a disappointment like everyone thinks he is, then Vince is going to fire Laurenitus. Show grabs Cena by his neck. Security comes in, but Show tosses them all off. And here's what I was predicting anyways. All these guys would be doing some type of back bumps and what have you. Well, that's about what they do. They try and separate Cena and Big Show from getting close to each other, but to no avail. And Laurenitus no-sells his injury and gets involved in the match, and it's chaos. During all this, Vince is knocked down by Big Show's WMD punch that was meant for Cena. Clearly, it was Cena was way on the ring ropes when Big Show just nails the knockout punch. And everyone is shocked. Raw goes off the air with Cena looking shocked as Vince is laid out. So that ended Raw, and here's what happened after Raw went off the air. Vince McMahon was assisted to the back. Laurenitus was then joined by announced the dark match, which saw John Cena defeat Laurenitus, Big Show, and David Otunga, and again another 3-on-1 handicap match after Show accidentally hit Otunga with the WMD again. Cena sent Show outside of the ring and pinned Otunga to get the win. Well, another report from after Raw by Zim. And sent the following on what happened after Raw went off the air. Well, he says after the show went off the air, 2 trainers helped Vince McMahon to the back. John Laurenitus took the mic and said, what happened was very sad and unfortunate, but in the name of People Power, the show must go on. And that was a dark match. John Cena defeated Big Show, Big Johnny, and David Otunga in a handicap match. Big Show actually KO'd Otunga, and Cena got the pin. Show missed Otunga with a punch, even worse than he missed Vince McMahon alive on the Raw. Big Johnny attacked Cena with a crutch afterwards, then ate the attitude adjustment to send the crowd home happy. And that ends my report for Raw and Superstars. Thank y'all, and have a nice day, and stay tuned for SmackDown, Superstars, the remaining match, and NXT results. Peace out.